Remember the thrilling alien invasion and unforgettable characters of V 1983-1985, from the courageous resistance fighters to the enigmatic visitors. This cult sci-fi classic kept audiences on the edge of their seats with every suspenseful twist. But what became of the cast after the series wrapped? Fast forward to 2025, and some actors stayed in Hollywood, others took surprising detours in their careers, and a few quietly disappeared from the spotlight altogether. From shocking personal transformations to fascinating behind-the-scenes stories we're uncovering, where the stars of V are now. And some of their journeys are as dramatic, unexpected, and thrilling as the battles against the visitors themselves. Neva Patterson was born on February 10, 1920, in Nevada, Iowa, and assumed the chilling role of Eleanor Dupre in 1983 at age 63, portraying a cold, calculating collaborator who navigated the morally gray world of the visitors with a mix of maternal warmth and ruthless ambition that unnerved audiences. Eleanor's character became a symbol of the seductive dangers of power, her elegance masking a manipulative core, leaving viewers unsettled yet captivated by her presence. Patterson's early life was steeped in modest means, with repeated social snubs and economic hardship forcing her to cultivate poise and discretion from a young age. She learned to hide vulnerability and channel it into performance, shaping her trademark refined, sometimes icy screen persona. Her career, spanning over 100 film, stage, and television roles, was marked by relentless professionalism, but also by moments of frustration when typecasting limited her to dignified or cold characters, stalling opportunities for more dynamic, emotionally expansive work. Off-screen, she kept a private life, carefully avoiding scandal, though whispers circulated about her sharp wit and occasional on-set intimidation tactics that kept co-stars on edge. Personal life challenges were subtle, but real, long periods of solitude, and the sacrifice of personal intimacy for career longevity shadowed her life. Patterson survived the pressures of Hollywood with resilience, only succumbing to complications from a broken hip on December 14, 2010, at age 90. At her death, her estate was modest, under $1 million, a reflection of a career built more on artistic merit, consistency, and dignity than financial gain, leaving a legacy of disciplined craft and quietly commanding performances that continue to resonate with genre fans. Howard K. Smith was born on May 12, 1914, in Faraday, Louisiana, and appeared as himself in V in 1984 at age 70, lending a rare journalistic gravitas to the series that blurred the lines between fiction and reality, grounding the alien invasion story in credibility and tension. His presence as a commentator lent viewers a tangible sense of authority and moral reflection, reflecting his decades-long reputation as one of the Murrow Boys and a fearless yet occasionally controversial voice in broadcast journalism. Smith's childhood was defined by modest rural circumstances, frequent relocations, and exposure to societal prejudices that cultivated a keen intellect and a drive for truth-seeking, but also instilled a guarded disposition toward personal vulnerabilities. Professionally, his career was punctuated by high-profile confrontations with network executives, including his firing from CBS for editorializing on civil rights, and criticisms over his public support for the Vietnam War, which sparked debates and occasional public censure. He also faced a minor scandal when a letter of political endorsement under ABC letterhead raised ethical questions about journalistic impartiality. Personal life struggles included navigating a high-profile career with intense scrutiny, the pressures of political entanglements, and periods of personal isolation. Smith died on February 15, 2002, at age 87 from pneumonia complicated by congestive heart failure. At his death, his estate was valued between $2.34 million reflecting decades of broadcasting, workbook royalties, and consulting, cementing a legacy as a principled yet occasionally polarizing journalist whose presence in V brought authenticity, moral weight, and an unflinching voice to a story of societal and extraterrestrial upheaval. Lane Smith was born on April 29, 1936, in Memphis, Tennessee, and at age 48 in 1984 he stepped into the role of Nathan Bates in V, a ruthless industrialist whose alignment with the alien visitors radiated ambition, cunning, and a cold charisma that made him both terrifying and magnetic. Bates's presence brought a human mirror to the visitors' manipulations, highlighting corporate greed and moral compromise in a way that resonated with viewers as both relevant and disturbingly familiar. Smith's own childhood was turbulent, shaped by the absence of a stable family structure, frequent financial insecurity, and early experiences of social marginalization, which forced him to develop a commanding presence and control over his environment traits he would later channel into authoritative on-screen characters. Professionally, he faced setbacks, including the occasional typecasting as stern figures and moments of tension with directors and co-stars due to his reputedly temperamental nature, though no major public scandal surfaced. His most serious professional challenge was navigating the transition from stage and character work to television prominence, a shift that required him to harness both charisma and subtle menace. Personal life turbulence included 2 divorces and complicated family dynamics, with whispers of impulsive behavior and emotional intensity at home and on set. Smith succumbed to complications from ALS on June 13, 2005, at age 69, leaving an estate estimated between $3 to $5 million accumulated through decades of film, television, and stage work. His career left a legacy of skillfully layered authority figures, blending menace with nuance, and a reputation for dedication that continued to influence character actors in the decades following his death. Mickey Jones was born on June 10, 1941 in Houston, Texas, and joined IV in 1984 at age 42 as Chris Farber, the gruff, biker-like resistance fighter whose loyalty, blunt honesty, and rough-edged charm provided both emotional depth and comic relief within the high-stakes narrative of the series. Farber's persona, a mix of toughness and unexpected vulnerability, made him instantly relatable to audiences, serving as the human counterpoint to the alien antagonist's calculated menace, and his physicality and charisma brought authenticity to action sequences and character interactions alike. Jones's childhood was marked by economic scarcity and the turbulence of a working-class upbringing in Houston, where he was frequently teased for his physical size and high-spirited nature, learning early to channel frustration into rhythm energy and self-reliance skills, which would later define both his career as a drummer for Bob Dylan, Kenny Rogers, and others, and his approach to acting. Professionally, Jones navigated a career with both high-profile peaks and periods of obscurity. His transition from music to acting was complicated by typecasting and by the industry's sometimes skeptical perception of musicians as credible actors. He also battled substance use during his music years, and while never involved in public scandal, his off-stage temperament was occasionally volatile, resulting in behind-the-scenes tensions with directors and colleagues. Personal life challenges included transient relationships and the constant balancing act of maintaining family bonds while touring and filming, coupled with the psychological toll of career fluctuations. Jones faced health complications later in life, including diabetes, which ultimately contributed to his death on February 7, 2018, at age 76. His estate was estimated at $1 million accumulated from decades of music and acting work, reflecting a life of gritty perseverance, adaptability, and a defiant commitment to his craft leaving a legacy of rugged authenticity, both on-screen and off, and a model of resilience in the face of industry and personal pressures. Aleong was born on December 19, 1934 in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago, and took on the role of Mr. Chiang in Vavi in 1984 at age 50, portraying the calculating and enigmatic aide to Nathan Bates, whose quiet menace and strategic mind made him a subtle but unforgettable presence within the visitor hierarchy. Her childhood was shaped by economic hardship and the challenges of migration, moving to the United States as a young boy, and growing up in a working-class household where resources were scarce, and he frequently endured teasing and marginalization for his ethnicity and accent experiences that instilled in him both resilience and a guarded approach to personal relationships. Professionally, Aleong struggled against Hollywood's persistent typecasting of Asian actors, and his outspoken advocacy for Asian American representation sometimes led to friction with casting directors and producers who found him uncompromising or difficult on set. Despite not achieving A-list fame, he maintained a steady career across television, film, and music production. Yet he also faced the constant tension of being respected for his talent, while overlooked for major roles due to systemic biases. Off-screen, he cultivated a reputation for political engagement and sharp opinions, which, while earning admiration in some circles, reportedly closed doors, in others reflecting the complex interplay between principle and career advancement. His personal life was kept largely private, though he navigated the pressures of balancing familial obligations and professional ambitions, a struggle compounded by the constant scrutiny of Hollywood and the entertainment industry's microcosm of power dynamics. Health challenges in later years, particularly dementia, impacted both his personal and professional life, ultimately leading to his passing on June 22, 2025, at age 90 due to complications from the disease. Aleong's estate, reflecting decades of disciplined work and advocacy, is estimated at $530,000, a figure that speaks more to the quiet persistence of a principled career than to blockbuster earnings, leaving a legacy defined by resilience, intelligence, and a relentless fight for representation within a system often hostile to difference. Faye Grant was born on July 16, 1957, and played Juliet Parrish in V in 1983 at age 26. Juliet was the moral backbone of the human resistance, embodying intelligence, empathy, and quiet ferocity that grounded the high-concept science fiction narrative and made audiences emotionally invest in a world under alien siege. Behind the camera, Grant's life carried darker, untold weight. Her childhood in St. Clair Shores, Michigan, was shaped by a strict household with limited emotional warmth and recurrent financial hardship, teaching her to conceal vulnerability beneath a composed exterior and to develop an early resilience that would later inform both her performances and her capacity to navigate Hollywood's cutthroat environment. Professionally, she confronted systemic barriers, including limited roles for women in science fiction typecasting, and the pervasive underestimation of actors who did not conform to conventional Hollywood beauty standards. Her personal life intersected with one of Hollywood's most notorious and devastating scandals. She secretly recorded her then-husband Stephen Collins, confessing to decades of child abuse. This act, while courageous, attracted intense media scrutiny and cast a shadow over her career, painting her both as a whistleblower and unfairly in the court of public perception as someone entwined in controversy. Romantic and familial stability remained elusive. Her early marriages and partnerships were fraught with tension, complicated by the pressures of public exposure and the residual trauma of the Collins scandal. Despite these adversities, Grant continued to pursue acting and advocacy, demonstrating a measured balance between personal ethics and professional commitment. At 68, she lives largely outside the Hollywood spotlight, cultivating privacy while maintaining a modest yet stable career. Her net worth, estimated between $100,000 and $1 million, reflects careful management of her earnings. A career that prioritized artistic integrity over commercial exploitation, and the enduring impact of a life that merged bravery, resilience, and a nuanced understanding of the personal costs of exposure in an unforgiving industry. Jane Badler was born on December 31, 1953, in Brooklyn, New York, and took on the role of Diana in V in 1983 at age 30, creating one of science fiction's most chillingly seductive villains, an alien commander whose calculated cruelty, icy elegance, and ruthless ambition left a lasting impression on audiences and firmly established her as an iconic antagonist. Diana's persona combined sophistication with menace, a character whose dominance and strategic intelligence drove much of the tension in the narrative, and Badler's meticulous portrayal ensured that the character transcended the superficial archetype of female villainy, becoming a symbol of power and charisma in genre storytelling. Badler's early life was shaped by a working-class upbringing in Brooklyn, where she faced financial constraints and the social pressures of urban life, along with subtle marginalization and scrutiny for her ambitious nature, which she learned to navigate with poise and emotional discretion. Professionally, Badler reinvented herself several times, transitioning from modeling to acting, and later establishing a career as a singer in Australia. Yet her career path was punctuated by personal loss. Most notably, the death of her son, Harry Haynes, a tragedy that profoundly affected her outlook on life and career, bringing to the surface emotional depth that mirrored her character's intensity. While she avoided major public scandal, Badler's bold fashion choices, outspoken views, and unapologetic approach to her professional identity sometimes drew criticism or controversy, reflecting her unwillingness to compromise personal integrity for industry approval. Her personal life has been a mix of triumphs and profound grief, including the long-term management of trauma and the emotional challenges of maintaining family relationships in the shadow of fame. Jane Badler is currently 71 years old, continuing to work selectively in acting and music, navigating public life while protecting her privacy. Her net worth is estimated between $100,000 and $1 million, accumulated from decades of iconic performances, international reinvention, and selective professional endeavors. Mark Singer was born on January 29, 1948, and played Mike Donovan in V in 1983 at age 35. Donovan was the courageous, skeptical journalist who became a pillar of the human resistance, anchoring the series with charisma, emotional depth, and moral clarity traits that mirrored Singer's disciplined approach to acting and his investment in creating a believable, relatable protagonist in a fantastical narrative. Singer's upbringing in Vancouver was marked by financial constraints and an early exposure to performing arts that provided both an escape and a rigorous foundation for professional discipline. His career trajectory was defined by steady achievement rather than scandal. He navigated the challenges of Hollywood with strategic care, developing skills in martial arts and stagecraft that distinguished him from contemporaries and allowed him to command a variety of roles across television, film, and theater. Though largely scandal-free, Singer faced the common pressures of fame, scrutiny over personal relationships, the volatility of television production schedules, and the physical and mental demands of long shoots that often tested marital and family stability. His marriage to actress Honani Min, which lasted until her death in 2014, provided rare personal constancy amid a career in which public expectations and industry demands often collided. Singer managed to avoid the destructive behaviors that ensnared many of his peers, maintaining professionalism, physical fitness, and a degree of privacy that allowed him to cultivate both longevity and credibility in the industry. Today, at 77, his net worth is estimated at $5 million, reflecting decades of disciplined career management, diversified acting work, and prudent investments. His life exemplifies a careful balancing of artistic pursuit, personal ethics, and career longevity, illustrating that one can achieve financial stability, professional recognition, and enduring legacy without succumbing to the scandals or excesses that define much of Hollywood history. Michael Wright was born on April 30, 1956, in New York City, and was 27 when he appeared as Elias Taylor in V in 1983, portraying a streetwise determined resistance fighter whose sharp intellect and fierce loyalty made him an anchor for the human opposition against the visitors. Elias was a man hardened by circumstance, navigating a world of fear and suspicion while striving to protect those he loved. And Wright's portrayal brought a raw, textured realism that resonated deeply with audiences, elevating a science fiction narrative with grit and moral complexity. Wright's childhood was far from idyllic. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood rife with poverty and crime, he endured both economic deprivation and social ridicule, which instilled in him a fierce independence and a tendency to mask vulnerability with toughness. Professionally, Wright faced the volatility of Hollywood as a black actor in the early 1980s, encountering typecasting, inconsistent opportunities, and occasional clashes with directors who resisted his methodical, immersive approach to roles. Rumors of his intense method acting style, creating tension on set, circulated, though he avoided the high-profile scandals that often engulfed his peers. Yet, his pursuit of authenticity sometimes cost him roles in mainstream projects. Wright's personal life has been largely private, with few public details, though whispers of strained relationships and the pressures of maintaining privacy in Hollywood hint at the challenges he navigated outside the camera. Despite these obstacles, he built a steady career in cult films and television, including The Five Heartbeats and Oz, crafting memorable performances that earned him respect, even if not enormous wealth. His net worth is modest, estimated at $500,000, reflecting a life devoted more to craft than accumulation, and his presence in V remains emblematic of a performer capable of grounding fantastical narratives with human vulnerability, moral clarity, and an understated heroism that continues to define his legacy in genre cinema. Michael Ironside was born on February 12, 1950 in Toronto, Canada, and stepped into the role of Ham Tyler in V: The Final Battle, 1984, at age 34, portraying a hardened, cynical anti-hero whose ruthless efficiency and gruff exterior masked a complex, morally conflicted core. Tyler's presence brought tension and unpredictability to the series', captivating audiences with his mix of menace and occasional vulnerability. Ironside's childhood was far from stable. Raised in a working-class family, he witnessed his father's frequent absences and his mother's struggles with mental health experiences that forced him to internalize his emotions and develop an intensity that would define his acting style. His career was marked by extremes of acclaim and challenge. While celebrated for playing villains in films like Scanners and Total Recall, he also endured professional setbacks, including typecasting that limited opportunities for leading roles and instances where studio executives clashed with him over the depth and aggression he brought to characters. Off-screen, Ironside faced severe health battles, surviving multiple cancers, yet maintained an unshakable work ethic, showing up on set despite lingering pain and recovery periods. Though widely respected, insiders occasionally noted a perfectionist streak, bordering on difficult, with demands for multiple takes and precise physicality, creating tension with co-stars. His personal life has remained largely private, avoiding public scandals despite the intensity he projected professionally. At 75, he is alive and active in film and television, with an estimated net worth of $8 million accumulated from over 270 credits voice work and long-standing industry recognition. Ironside's legacy is one of formidable presence, resilience, and uncompromising dedication, a career built on intensity and precision, with shadows of personal struggle and triumph quietly underpinning his public persona. Robert Englund was born on June 6, 1947, in Glendale, California, and was 36 when he first appeared as Willie in V in 1983, portraying a gentle, awkward, and endearing alien technician whose warmth and subtle humor provided a humanizing counterpoint to the visitor's menace. Willie's character resonated with audiences for his vulnerability, sincerity, and the subtle charm that contrasted starkly with Englund's later far more notorious work as Freddy Krueger, making him a uniquely sympathetic figure in a narrative defined by fear and tension. Englund's childhood was challenging, marked by modest means and early encounters with social marginalization and teasing, which cultivated in him a capacity for empathy, resilience, and the creative imagination that would define his later work. His career trajectory included both triumphs and setbacks, while he became a horror icon through his transformation into Freddy Krueger. He also experienced periods of struggle in securing substantive roles, navigated occasional clashes with directors, and endured the pressures of fan obsession and typecasting that sometimes threatened to overshadow his versatility. Off-screen Englund has been known as warm, witty, and generous, maintaining an enduring connection with fans despite some bizarre encounters fueled by his horror persona. And he has avoided major scandals or legal troubles, cultivating a reputation for professionalism and approachability. Englund's personal life has included complex romantic relationships and the balancing of fame with family commitments. Yet he has largely maintained stability despite the eccentricities of his career. Now, 78 Englund remains active in film and television, particularly within the horror genre, and his net worth is estimated at $16 million, derived from a combination of acting royalties and appearances, reflecting both financial success and cultural influence. His life exemplifies a rare duality, a man capable of terrifying audiences on screen while remaining remarkably grounded, generous, and resilient off-screen, cementing his legacy as a versatile and enduring figure in the entertainment industry. Bruce Davison was born on June 28, 1946, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and joined Vi in 1985 at age 39 as John Langley, a scientist whose intellectual acuity and moral steadiness brought a vital layer of gravitas to the resistance movement. Langley's calm, principled demeanor provided a counterpoint to the high-stakes chaos of the alien occupation, making him a quietly compelling figure whose presence resonated with audiences craving reason amid turmoil. Davison's childhood was fraught with instability. Growing up in a working-class household, he endured financial scarcity and a father who was emotionally distant, forcing him to internalize frustration and sharpen observational skills that would later inform his subtle, nuanced performances. His career has been a tapestry of brilliance and controversy. While lauded for his Academy Award-nominated work in Longtime Companion and X-Men, he navigated the shadow of Hollywood politics, including being ostracized at times for outspoken stances on social issues, and the notorious secrecy surrounding his decades-old affair with actress Sandra Locke, a liaison only publicly confirmed years later. Davison's personal life has been equally complex, with 3 marriages, 2 children, and occasional tensions over work-life balance alongside activism in AIDS awareness and other charitable causes that occasionally drew ire from industry traditionalists who preferred actors to remain apolitical. Despite these pressures, he remained a consummate professional, respected for his meticulous preparation, intense character study, and ability to navigate morally ambiguous roles without losing authenticity. At 79, he remains active in film and television, residing in California, with an estimated net worth of $5 to $20 million accrued through a combination of high-profile roles, residuals, and selective stage work. Davison's life reflects the duality of Hollywood, a celebrated career shadowed by private scandals, personal complexities, and unwavering dedication to craft and social causes, illustrating how even those operating in the spotlight can cultivate depth, secrecy, and integrity simultaneously. Frank Ashmore was born on June 17, 1945, in El Paso, Texas, and appeared in VT 1983 at age 38, as Martin, later also portraying Martin's brother Philip, characters that represented hope and moral courage amidst the alien invasion. Martin's steady, empathetic demeanor served as the fifth column's guiding conscience, and Ashmore's calm, deliberate performance made him a quietly compelling presence, grounding the high-stakes sci-fi drama in humanity. Ashmore's early life was challenging. He grew up in a modest household where financial strain and parental conflict created an environment of constant uncertainty, leading him to rely on performance and mimicry as an emotional outlet, fostering the subtle sensitivity evident in his acting. Professionally, Ashmore has experienced a career of steady consistency rather than explosive fame. While respected for his television roles, voice acting in video games such as Mafia 2, and appearances in films like Airplane, he faced the frustrations of typecasting's sporadic recognition and minor disputes with casting directors who underestimated his range. Despite these pressures, he maintained a reputation for professionalism, never embroiled in public scandal, though colleagues recall a quiet intensity and meticulous approach to his craft that sometimes frustrated less disciplined peers. His personal life has been intentionally low-profile, with no known tumultuous relationships or widely publicized conflicts, choosing stability over celebrity drama. Now, 80 Ashmore remains alive and occasionally active in acting and voice work, with an estimated net worth of $1 million, reflecting a career sustained by diligent work, steady roles, and careful management of personal and professional life. Ashmore's enduring appeal lies in his ability to bring moral clarity and emotional depth to roles often overshadowed by spectacle, offering a reminder that quiet, principled artistry can carve a lasting niche even in an industry dominated by flash and controversy. David Packer was born on August 25, 1962, and played Daniel Bernstein in Vi in 1983 at age 21. Bernstein's arc as a young conflicted collaborator captured the vulnerability, naivete, and moral struggle of someone seduced by alien power, while wrestling with conscience, an uncanny parallel to Packer's own early experiences in the spotlight. Raised in New Jersey in a working-class environment, his childhood was punctuated by familial instability, economic limitations, and the subtle violence of peer derision, forcing him to internalize fear and cultivate resilience from a young age. This internalized tension surfaced in his portrayal of Bernstein, making the character's eventual moral unraveling both believable and tragic. However, Packer's real life soon mirrored darkness far more intense than any script he was present during the murder of co-star Dominique Dunne, an event that profoundly traumatized him and exposed him to public scrutiny, conspiracy theories, and moral questioning that shadowed his early career. Professionally, this intersection of tragedy and public visibility hindered opportunities, with casting directors often hesitant to risk controversy or tabloid attention. Personal relationships were equally fragile. The weight of early trauma, public speculation, and ongoing professional insecurity made intimacy difficult, contributing to periods of isolation and emotional instability. Despite the cumulative burden of personal and professional trials, Packer continued to act, building a career defined more by persistence than stardom, navigating Hollywood's pressures while carrying scars few could perceive. At 62, he maintains a quiet presence outside the public eye, with a net worth estimated between $100,000 and $1 million, representing a career punctuated by survival resilience and the capacity to continue working in an industry that can be both unforgiving and hauntingly reflective of one's own personal challenges. June Chadwick was born on November 30, 1951, in Warwickshire, England, and was 32 when she joined V in 1984 as Lydia, the icy and ambitious high-ranking visitor officer whose strategic ruthlessness and cold elegance made her one of the series' most memorable antagonists. Lydia's character exuded control, intimidation, and a calculated cruelty that contrasted sharply with the human protagonist's vulnerability, and Chadwick's precise, poised performance elevated the alien hierarchy with sophistication and menace. Off-screen, Chadwick's life has been remarkably insulated from the darker side of Hollywood. Her childhood was marked by modest means and the struggles of growing up in post-war England, where she experienced teasing and social marginalization that encouraged a careful cultivation of composure and private strength. Professionally, she navigated the challenges of typecasting and the precariousness of television fame, at times facing criticism for her perceived coldness and aloofness traits that mirrored the very characters she was asked to embody. While largely avoiding scandal, Chadwick's single-minded focus on her craft occasionally created tension with colleagues on long-running productions, though she maintained a reputation for professionalism and dedication. Her personal life has included long-standing passions outside of acting, including equestrian pursuits and music, which provided emotional balance amidst the pressures of her career. Now 73, Chadwick remains active in acting and voice work, maintaining a quiet presence in the industry, and her net worth is estimated at $1 to $2 million accrued through decades of consistent employment in film and television. Chadwick's enduring appeal lies in her ability to channel the icy precision of her characters while preserving a private, controlled life away from the Hollywood spotlight, a balance that underscores her intelligence, resilience, and the meticulous care with which she has navigated a notoriously fickle industry. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey through classic television history. If you enjoyed learning about the cast of V and where they are now, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more vintage Hollywood retrospectives, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your memories and suggestions, so let us know which TV show or movie cast you'd like us to feature next.